If you're going to be hauling heavier loads, you may want to install your E-Track using bolts instead of just screws for extra strength. We found an easy method of installation and we're going to show you today.
What we've chose to do is to use a bolt and drill through the cross member and use a washer and a lock nut on the bottom. Now compare that to the way many of the sales places install it, or that you see online they recommend. They recommend you use a screw of some sort, self-tapping, or you can pre-drill the hole and you put your screw into the tubing. Now if you see here, there's only 2 or 3 threads that actually hold that screw from tearing out. Compare that to drilling all the way through with a bolt and using a washer and a lock nut. There'll be much more strength. So we install the bolts through each cross member, and these are 16 inches apart. And it's easy to tell where the bolts are or where the toughest place to tie down is because they have the square heads. Now the screws I've put in, they will hold a little bit, but they are mostly just to hold the edge down. They are a 3/4 inch by number 10 panhead screw. So while we drill from the top and insert the bolt, here's what it looks like underneath. So let's install this section of E-Track and I'll show you a few things that I learned doing that side. One is to mark where your cross member is, and it helps in case your E-Track covers up the screw or the fastener that they've used. So just mark it like that. Come to this one. Of course, this one is a joint in the plywood, and we got really lucky, and there is a piece of tubing right here underneath, so we can fasten this end with a bolt instead of just screws. So 52 inches works. When you measure 52 inches, it lands right between the 2 E-Track slots. So mark it there. And take a square. Then we just use an angle grinder with a metal cutting disc. Okay, now we have our piece cut and our cross members marked. We want to lay this in position, and we want to make sure our holes are over the cross members. And for my application, I'm actually keeping it 1.5 inches from the wall. Now you can pre-mark the wood before you lay this down. One reason to keep it 1.5 inches from the wall is so that your tools fit and you can drill a straight hole. So from here, I'll put in these screws just to hold, this is kind of to hold the track in place while I do the main bolts. I'm using a 1/4 inch drill bit, and I had to extend it because I'm going through almost 3 inches of material. So I'm at the very end of it, and if you just now, one tip I learned is to put the bolt in this one before you drill the next one in case it shifts as you're drilling. Once you've got the bolts ready, now you need your best sweetie to come and hold the top while you put the nuts on from the bottom. And you can get the little monsters to help. Okay, Doug, do you have it figured out?
Thanks.
Yep, you put the wrench on the head, and you might have to put your thumb on it while I start the nut underneath.
All right.
When you're drilling the holes, if you encounter a fastener from construction or something else that you can't get through, you can just move the hole over. Remember, well, for this trailer, I have a 2-inch cross member. And that goes for this end as well. You can see the cross member would end about here and the hole was here. So you can just drill yourself new holes. It's worthwhile to buy a couple extra bits because the only thing that's worse than drilling with a dull bit is having to stop your project and run to the store. We used 3.5-inch, 1/4-inch bolts. This may or may not work for yours depending on the depth of your cross member and the thickness of your plywood. So using this method of drilling the bolts all the way through the cross member worked very well, and it gives us confidence when hauling heavy items on the highway that we can tie them tightly and they will stay in place.